Betrayal. My best friend since middle school used her boss for a promotion. While cheating on her husband of 15 years, you won't believe what happened when I exposed her. When you've been friends with someone since the age of 12, you think you know everything about them. The way they laugh when they're genuinely amused versus the polite chuckle they give strangers. The look in their eyes when they're hiding something. The tone they use when they're about to ask for a favor. 20 years of friendship builds a foundation of trust that seems unshakable. Or so I thought. My best friend Jessica and I have been inseparable since middle school. Our lockers were next to each other in 7th grade, and within weeks, we were finishing each other's sentences. We survived the awkward teen years together, celebrated our college acceptances together, and stood beside each other at our weddings. Our husbands became best friends too. Our families merged into one big, happy unit that celebrated holidays together and supported each other through life's challenges. When Jessica landed a job at a prestigious marketing firm last year, I was thrilled for her. After years of working retail jobs while raising her 2 kids, she finally had a chance at a career with growth potential. Her husband, Mark, who she'd been with since sophomore year of high school, was her biggest cheerleader. He picked up extra household responsibilities, took the kids to their activities, and made sure Jessica had time to focus on learning the ropes at her new job. Mark has been amazing, she told me over coffee just weeks after starting. I don't know what I'd do without him handling everything at home while I adjust to this new schedule. I smiled, thinking about how lucky my friend was to have such a supportive partner. Mark wasn't just Jessica's husband. He was one of the kindest, most genuine people I'd ever met. He worked hard as an electrician, never complained, and treated Jessica like she was the center of his universe. For 15 years, they'd been the couple everyone pointed to as relationship goals. If only I'd known what was brewing beneath the surface. It was a typical Friday night when everything changed. Jessica texted asking if she could come over because she had exciting news to share. My husband was out with friends, so I was alone when Jessica arrived with a bottle of expensive champagne. "What's the occasion?" I asked as she practically bounced into my kitchen. "I got promoted," she squealed, pulling champagne flutes from my cabinet. She knew where everything was in my home, just as I did in hers. That's how close we were. "Jess, that's amazing. After only 8 months, you must be crushing it." Her smile changed then, taking on an edge I'd never seen before. "Well, I had some help." I assumed she meant a mentor or some professional development classes the company offered. I was wrong. "I've been sleeping with David," she said casually, popping the champagne cork. David was her direct supervisor, the department head who had just promoted her. I thought she was joking. "Very funny. Now tell me how you really got promoted." Jessica looked at me with an expression that made my blood run cold. "I'm serious. We've been having an affair for the past 4 months. And it's not just about the promotion anymore. We're in love." My champagne glass froze halfway to my lips. "What about Mark?" She shrugged. "What about him? He's boring, Rachel. He's been the same person since high school. David is exciting. He takes me to fancy restaurants and talks about things other than the kids' soccer games and what needs fixing around the house." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "But you and Mark have been together for 15 years. You have children together." "And we'll figure that out," she said dismissively. "But right now, I need your help. David and I are going to the Bahamas next week. It's technically a business trip, but it's really just going to be us at a luxury resort. I told Mark I'd be unreachable due to remote meetings, but I need you to cover for me if he calls looking for me." The audacity left me speechless. She wasn't here out of guilt or to seek advice about her moral dilemma. She was bragging about her affair and promotion, and worse, asking me to help her deceive her husband, a man who had been nothing but supportive and loving. "You want me to lie to Mark?" I finally managed. It's not a big deal, she said, rolling her eyes. People have affairs all the time, and this isn't just some fling. David is taking me on his company's dollar to a five-star resort. Do you know how long it's been since I've had a real vacation? Maybe because you and Mark have been saving for your children's college funds instead of luxury getaways. I snapped. Jessica's expression hardened. I don't expect you to understand. You've always played by the rules. Sometimes you need to take what you want in life. I felt sick. This wasn't my best friend speaking. Or maybe it was, and I'd never truly known her. You need to leave, I said quietly. Seriously? You're judging me? After everything we've been through? I'm not judging you, I lied. I just need time to process this, but I will not lie to Mark for you. That's non-negotiable. Jessica grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Fine. I thought you'd be happy for me. I finally have everything I've ever wanted. An exciting relationship, career advancement, and a tropical vacation. But I guess some people just can't handle seeing their friends succeed. When the door slammed behind her, I sat in stunned silence, the untouched champagne fizzing away in my glass just like my image of my best friend had dissolved before my eyes. After Jessica left, I paced my living room for what felt like hours. The Jessica I knew wouldn't betray her family like this. The Jessica I grew up with valued loyalty above all else. What had happened to her? When my husband Tom came home, I was still awake, sitting in the dark living room. What's wrong? He asked immediately. Tom could always read my emotions. I told him everything about Jessica's affair with her boss, the promotion she'd received as a result, and her upcoming business trip that was actually a romantic getaway, about her asking me to cover for her if Mark called. Tom's face went through a series of emotions: shock, disgust, and finally, anger. Mark is my best friend, he said quietly. I can't believe she's doing this to him. I don't know what to do, I admitted. If I tell Mark, I'll be ending their marriage. If I don't, I'm complicit in her deception. Tom took my hand. You know what the right thing is here. If the situation were reversed, wouldn't you want Mark to tell you? He was right, of course, but the thought of being the messenger that destroyed a 15-year marriage made me physically ill. Maybe there's another way, I said desperately. Maybe I can convince Jessica to come clean herself. Tom gave me a skeptical look but nodded. Try if you must, but Mark deserves to know before she leaves on that trip. He deserves the chance to make informed decisions about his life and his marriage. My husband had a point. Time was running out. The business trip was scheduled for the following week. If Mark was going to find out the truth, it needed to happen before Jessica disappeared to the Bahamas with her lover. I tried calling Jessica the next day, but she didn't answer. I texted asking to meet, saying it was important, but she responded with a curt message. I'm busy preparing for my trip. We can talk when I get back. She was avoiding me, which meant confronting her again wasn't an option. The clock was ticking, and Mark remained blissfully unaware that his wife was planning to betray him in the most public and humiliating way possible. Then Tom reminded me of something I'd completely forgotten in the shock of Jessica's revelation: our security camera. The living room camera would have recorded your entire conversation, he said. We have proof. Indeed, when we checked the footage, there it was. Jessica's confession in high definition, complete with her callous dismissal of her husband and her explicit request that I help her deceive him. The decision was made. We couldn't let Mark continue in ignorance while his wife flaunted her affair on a tropical vacation. He deserved better. We invited Mark over for dinner that Sunday, just 3 days before Jessica's planned departure. He arrived with a bottle of wine and his usual warm smile. Jessica's working late again, he explained as he handed me the wine. She's been putting in such long hours, preparing for this business trip. I'm so proud of her dedication. His sincerity made what we were about to do even more painful. After dinner, Tom poured Mark another glass of wine. "Mark, there's something we need to show you," he said gently. Mark's expression turned concerned. "Is everything okay? Are you guys having problems?" "It's not about us," I said, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. "It's about Jessica." We showed him the security footage, watched his face crumple as his wife's voice filled the room, detailing her affair and her plans to use me as an alibi. When the recording ended, Mark sat in stunned silence, tears streaming down his face. "How long have you known?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Just since Friday," I assured him. "And I would never have agreed to cover for her, Mark. You have to believe that." He nodded numbly. "I believe you. I don't understand. We've been happy. At least, I thought we were happy." The devastation in his eyes was unbearable. This man had devoted 15 years of his life to Jessica, supported her career ambitions, helped raise their children, and this was how she repaid his loyalty. "There's more you should know," Tom said reluctantly. "This David, her boss, he's the one who gave her the recent promotion." Mark's expression hardened slightly. "So she slept her way to a promotion?" "It seems that way," I admitted. "I'm so sorry, Mark." "Don't apologize," he said. "You did the right thing telling me. I just wish—" His voice broke. "I just wish she had come to me if she was unhappy. We could have worked on things." We spent the next few hours helping Mark process the shock and decide on his next steps. By the time he left, he had resolved to confront Jessica and contact a lawyer. The marriage was over, that much was clear, but he needed to protect himself and their children. "Thank you both," he said at the door, hugging us each tightly. "I don't know what I would have done if she had gone on that trip without me knowing the truth." As we watched him drive away, I felt a mixture of relief and profound sadness. Relief that Mark now knew the truth, sadness for the end of a marriage I had watched unfold from the beginning, and grief for the friendship with Jessica that would never be the same again. "We did the right thing," Tom reassured me, sensing my conflicted emotions. I nodded. "I know, but I never thought I'd be the one to bring down my best friend's life." Little did I know, the fallout was just beginning. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Jessica had called 17 times and left a series of increasingly angry voicemails. "How could you? You had no right. I trusted you and you betrayed me. You've ruined everything." Finally, I answered on her 18th call. "How dare you show Mark that footage?" she screamed without preamble. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I think the better question is, what were you doing, Jessica?" I replied, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Cheating on your husband, using your affair to advance your career, and then asking me to help you lie about it? It wasn't your place to interfere in my marriage. It became my place when you came to my house, bragged about your affair, and tried to make me complicit in your deception," I pointed out. "What did you expect me to do?" "I expected loyalty from my best friend," she shouted. "Not everyone's marriage has to fit your perfect little mold, Rachel. Mark and I have been struggling for years." That was news to me, and apparently to Mark as well. "Then you should have gone to counseling or gotten a divorce before you started sleeping with your boss," I said. "Not cheated and lied. David loves me," she insisted. "This wasn't just about the promotion." "Does he? Because Mark said he's calling your company's HR department this morning." There was silence on the other end of the line. "He wouldn't," she finally whispered. "He already did," I confirmed. "Apparently, your company has strict policies about supervisors dating subordinates, especially when promotions are involved." Mark spoke to HR at 8 a.m. The panic in Jessica's voice was palpable. "That's gonna ruin my career, and David's too." "Maybe you should have thought about that before starting an affair with your married boss," I suggested. Actions have consequences, Jess. She hung up on me. I later learned from Mark that when he confronted Jessica, she tried to deny everything at first, then blamed him for her infidelity when the evidence became impossible to refute. She'd stormed out of their house and hadn't returned all night. By that afternoon, the situation had escalated beyond anything I could have anticipated. Jessica's company took the ethics violation seriously, very seriously. Both she and David were placed on immediate administrative leave pending an investigation. The luxury business trip was canceled. David, facing the potential loss of his career and possibly his reputation in the industry, quickly distanced himself from Jessica. According to mutual friends, he claimed she had pursued him aggressively and that the relationship was a mistake he deeply regretted. Just like that, Jessica lost her promotion, her job was in jeopardy, her lover had abandoned her, and her marriage was over. And she blamed me for all of it. If the story had ended there, it would have been devastating enough. But Jessica wasn't content to let her private humiliation remain private. She took to social media with a vengeance. "When someone you've trusted for 20 years stabs you in the back," she posted, with a not-so-subtle old photo of us that she'd cropped to show just my face with a knife emoji over it. Her next post was even more direct. "True friends support you even when they don't agree with your choices. False friends secretly record you and use it to destroy your life." Our mutual friends started texting me, asking what had happened. The rumor mill went into overdrive. Some people took Jessica's side without knowing the full story, assuming I'd betrayed her confidence over something minor. Others remained neutral, waiting to hear both sides. I refused to engage in a social media war, but I did respond to friends who reached out directly. "There are things you don't know," I would say. And out of respect for Mark and their children, I'm not going to share details publicly, but I stand by my actions. Mark, to his credit, also maintained his dignity. When asked, he simply said, "My wife had an affair with her boss and received a promotion as a result. Rachel and Tom showed me evidence when I was being deceived." I'm grateful for their honesty. The truth has a way of prevailing, and gradually the full story emerged. Jessica's company completed its investigation and terminated both her and David for ethics violations. The findings included evidence that David had fast-tracked Jessica's promotion just days after their affair began, passing over more qualified candidates. Jessica's parents, who had always been like second parents to me, called to say they were heartbroken but understood why I had shown Mark the footage. "She's our daughter and we love her mother said tearfully. "But what she did was wrong. Mark has been part of our family for 15 years. He didn't deserve this." Our community of friends eventually sorted itself out. Those who valued honesty and integrity stood by me and Mark. Those who believed loyalty meant supporting a friend's actions, regardless of morality, sided with Jessica. It was a natural filtering process that, while painful, clarified who shared our values. 6 weeks after the initial confrontation, Jessica appeared on my doorstep. She looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. Her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice lacking its usual confidence. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside to let her enter. She sat stiffly on the edge of my couch, the same spot where she'd sat that fateful night and bragged about her affair. "I owe you an apology," she said, staring at her hands. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." I remained silent, waiting. "I was wrong," she continued, "about everything. The affair, the promotion, asking you to lie for me, all of it." "What brought on this revelation?" I asked cautiously. "Therapy," she admitted. "After I lost my job and David dumped me, I hit rock bottom. Mark filed for divorce and got temporary full custody of the kids because I was such a mess. I started seeing a therapist, and she's helped me see things more clearly." "I'm glad you're getting help," I said sincerely. The thing is, Jessica continued, this wasn't really about David or the promotion or even Mark. It was about me feeling like I'd missed out on life by settling down so young. I started reading these websites and forums where women talked about leveling up and not settling for traditional relationships, and it got into my head. I remembered how Jessica had always been susceptible to outside influence. In high school, she changed her style completely after spending one summer with her cousin from California. In college, she'd switched majors 3 times based on which professors she found most charismatic. These women online convinced me that using men for advancement wasn't wrong. It was empowerment, she explained. They said if I wasn't the highest earner in my relationship, I was being oppressed, that a girl boss knows how to use her advantages to get ahead. That's not empowerment, I said. That's manipulation. I know that now, she agreed, but at the time it felt revolutionary, like I was finally taking control of my life instead of just being Mark's wife and the kids' mom. I softened slightly. I could understand the appeal of that narrative to someone who'd been in the same relationship since she was 15. That still doesn't excuse what you did. No, it doesn't, she acknowledged. Nothing excuses it. I destroyed my marriage, traumatized my children, lost my job, and threw away a 20-year friendship for what? A few months with a man who discarded me the minute things got complicated. There was genuine remorse in her voice, but I'd been fooled by Jessica before. Why are you telling me this? Because I miss you, she said simply. Because even though I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, I had to try. You were right to show Mark that footage. If our positions were reversed, I hope I would have had the courage to do the same. I wasn't ready to forgive Jessica. Not yet. Too much damage had been done, but I appreciated her honesty. What happens now? I asked. I'm focusing on rebuilding my relationship with my kids, she said. Mark and I are in mediation. He's being far more generous than I deserve, and I'm looking for a new job, something entry level where I can earn advancement honestly. As she was leaving, Jessica turned back. I don't expect us to be friends again, but I wanted you to know that I understand now why you did what you did. It was the right thing, even though it hurt. It's been a year since that night Jessica came to my house with champagne and a shocking confession. So much has changed since then. Mark and Jessica finalized their divorce 6 months ago. He's doing well, focused on the kids, and recently started dating a kindergarten teacher who treats him with the respect he deserves. The children split time between their parents and seem to be adjusting as well as can be expected. Jessica found a job at a small marketing agency where she's working her way up legitimately. She continues her therapy and has made amends to many people she hurt during what she now calls her temporary insanity. She's even started speaking to women's groups about the dangers of toxic online communities that promote manipulation and deception as forms of empowerment. As for our friendship, we're not back to where we were. We never will be. But we've established a new, more distant relationship based on the history we share and the lessons we've both learned. We meet occasionally for coffee and can now talk about the past without anger or defensiveness. Tom and I remain close with Mark and have welcomed his new girlfriend into our circle. Our loyalty to him during his darkest hours cemented a bond that will likely last a lifetime. Looking back, I don't regret showing Mark the footage, despite the chaos that followed. Some would say I betrayed my best friend's confidence, but I believe true loyalty means holding the people you love accountable when they're making destructive choices. The experience taught me that sometimes being a good friend means being willing to risk the friendship for the right reasons. It showed me that although truth can be painful in the moment, deception causes far more damage in the long run. And it reminded me that our character is defined not by our mistakes, but by how we respond to them. Jessica betrayed her husband, her employer, her children, and our friendship. But in confronting the consequences of her actions, she found a path to redemption. And in choosing honesty over blind loyalty, I discovered the true meaning of friendship. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most important growth, and sometimes, when everything falls apart, it creates space for something better to be built in its place.